Welcome to our January 9th Baldwin County Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. We will now call it to order. And at this time, I'm going to ask if you'll stand with me. We'll have a prayer and a pledge of allegiance. Our Father, we're thankful to you for another year. We're thankful to you for this great place we live in. And Father, we're thankful for those that make it possible, for the people that live here, for people who work here, people that visit here. And Father, we're here to plan for this county and hopefully make it a better place. And we're thankful for our elected officials, our first responders. We're thankful for our staff that put this meeting together tonight, work hard at that. And Father, we just ask your blessings on this meeting and all that we do. And we pray this now in the name of Jesus. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. At this time, I'll call the roll. Brandon Bias. Here. Robert Davis. Here. Scott Schamberger. Michael Mullick. Here. Greg Seibert. Here. Jamie Stratiger. Here. Glenn Seal. Diane Burnett. Michael Fletcher. Here. George Waters. Here. And Reed Key. Here. Okay, we have a quorum. First item on our agenda is to take care of our minutes from our December 5th work session and our regular meeting. I think everybody received a copy of that. If there are no corrections, I'll entertain a motion that we approve both of those.
So moved.
Greg Seibert has made a motion we approve. Do I have a second? Second. Mr. Davis has seconded the motion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Those minutes are approved. All right, at this time we're going to have a presentation. Ms. Hart, you want to come on up, DJ? Or whichever, whoever's going to do it, you can tell us when you come up. They're going to give us an update on the flood hazard management plan. If you're here for that tonight, now you may have heard on the news that this is a public hearing. Technically it's not, it's a presentation, and DJ and then we'll explain a little bit more what they're actually doing, but they're really just giving us an update tonight. So I'll let you ladies speak to that first. Wait a minute, DJ, I don't think we've got you on.
Good afternoon. I'm DJ Hart, and I was CRS coordinator for 12 years. I retired in November of 23, and I came back to work train our new CRS coordinator, Corey Flowers. She's going to be running that program for us. Tonight we're here just to do a presentation that is actually kind of part of that. So Corey's going to take over.
Okay.
Hey, good afternoon. So I just wanted to touch on first the point of the plan. So basically it's a flood hazard management plan. What we do is we are assessing the county, the unincorporated part of the county, for items that we're able to help with reducing flood, as well as reducing flood, and then ways that we can minimize property damage. And what that does is that does give us CRS credit. And with the CRS credit, that does give insurance discounts. And it's basically like golf. The lower the score, the higher the rate that you get off of your insurance. So with CRS, we've actually been part of the program since 1994. Right now we're class 7, and we're getting a 15% discount. What that does is reducing flood damage, lower risk property damage, and improve public safety. Support flood insurance. The benefit is provides premium discounts for residents, making flood insurance more affordable. And then it also foster comprehensive floodplain management. The benefit encourages facility development, protecting both the environment and community infrastructures. How do I... And so the purpose of our plan, the purpose of the flood hazard management plan, is to reduce the effects of flooding on people, property, infrastructure. We do that by protecting lives and property. We identify the flood-prone areas and promote safety measures to minimize flood damage. Our guiding development provides guidelines for safe development in flood zones to prevent future risk and preserve natural floodplains. We are meeting compliance standards. We align with the NFIP requirements. helping the community qualify for insurance discounts through programs like CRS itself. And then we are strengthening preparedness. We're improving the community's ability to prepare for, respond to, and recover from floods, enhancing long-term resilience. And right now with the plan, we are towards the end of it. We've been working hard on it since, I believe, October. And we do have a draft that is going to be available on the website tonight. It is still the rough draft. We're not quite to the final yet. So when you do look on there, there are things that have not been quite updated. And the final draft will come available on the 23rd. We do have an upcoming meeting. It's going to be on January 21st at 1 o'clock, and it's in a large meeting room at the Foley Satellite Courthouse. The public is more than welcome to come. And what we'll be doing at that meeting is going through the whole plan, fine-toothing it, and making sure that it's ready to go to commission and then go to FEMA for the approval and adoption. And then if there are any questions, we do have our email address, the phone number, as well as the location. Y'all can come by and ask any questions. And I do have a printout of just common questions and answers regarding the plan itself. That's basically all that I have.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, as I said, this is not a public hearing. We're actually not taking any action on this tonight. You saw that there will be a follow-up meeting on January 21st. And ultimately, I guess this will go before the county commission.
Yes, sir.
So even though it's not a public hearing, it is a presentation. Is there anyone that came tonight that wanted to speak to this? Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, with that, we're going to go to our regular agenda items, and at this time, I want to have Mr. Dixon come up and do his presentation that we typically have before all of our items we discuss.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, Commissioners. Appreciate your time, but as we always do, I want to go through a quick run through of our public hearing guidelines. We do have several public hearings on the agenda tonight. This is for the public, so when the item is up, please, the public comment should only be made during the public hearing portion of the meeting. State your name and address into the microphone for the record. The meeting is recorded and maybe streaming on the internet, so please speak clearly so that it will go on the record properly. Comments should be directed to the Planning Commission Chairman, and he can direct those comments to the appropriate person. Comments should be focused on the application that's being presented at that time, and comments from individuals should be limited to 3 minutes unless you're speaking on behalf of a group, and that the chairman could grant you 5 minutes. If you're speaking on a group, just please state what group you are representing. First, the couple of rezoning cases that we have tonight, you guys see this every meeting. We have 11 review criteria that our zoning ordinance requires us to review rezoning applications by. You'll see this in all the presentations as they come forward to you, but one is, is the applicant application compatible with the development pattern of the area? Has there been any changes to the area since originally zoned? Does the application better conform to the master plan? Does the proposed application conflict with any public improvements? Are there any adverse traffic impacts? And again, like I'll state every month, when we're looking at rezoning cases, this is really about the transportation system as a whole. This is not talking about any kind of localized turn lane improvements and intersection improvements, things that may come with some future development application. This is really about the transportation system as a whole. So keep that in mind when you're reviewing those. Is the application consistent with the development pattern? Is it a logical expansion of adjacent zoning? Is the timing appropriate given development trends? Are there any environmental or historic impacts? Or are there any adverse impacts to health, safety, and welfare? And staff will cover those with each of the applications. When it comes to the subdivision cases, as we go through every month, there's state law is very clear about what we have to do with the subdivision applications. Staff works hard with the applicants to make sure that they are in compliance with the regulations before they get to you. Occasionally they can't be in compliance, and you'll hear some that aren't. But when the application is in compliance with subdivision regulations, the state law is very clear that we must approve the application if they are in compliance with our regulations. And this is a little bit of a unique time when it comes to subdivisions. As you're all aware, we did have our subdivision regulation amendments passed by the County Commission on Tuesday. Those became effective immediately on Tuesday. However, any of the applications that were in our system and in the process prior to Tuesday are still being reviewed by the old regulations. So we do have a little bit of an overlap where you'll start seeing the old regulations fade out and the new regulations come in, but there'll be a couple months here where we'll probably have to clarify which regulations apply to the application. For today's meeting, they're all on the old regulations, so it'll be nice and clean, but just be prepared for that for future meetings. With that, I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Thanks, sir. I'll just add to Mr. Dixon's comments. Please know that I will open the public hearing on each item. We'll allow the applicant to speak. Staff will give their report, and then we'll allow those that have signed up to come. I'll call you one at a time to come up to speak. Just know that when I've gone through that list, there'll come a point where I will close the public hearing on that item. And when I close that public hearing, you can't speak again. So a lot of times people raise their hand and want to say something else. So I will close the public hearing. You will not be able to speak. So be sure and get your comments in your 3 minutes when you're up here. All right, with that, we're going to go to what we call our consent agenda. We have about 7 items tonight that are on the consent agenda. I'm going to read each one of these out. If no one is here in opposition to these, then we will do one public hearing for all of these and make one motion and approval on them. But if you're here tonight and you're in opposition to any one of these 7, or if you just need to speak to one of those items, then I'm going to take it off the consent agenda and then we'll open it up in a separate public hearing. So I'm going to read those now. So you won't speak at this time. All I need to know is that you want to speak to it. So I'm going to call them out and you let me know. The first 2 items are not public hearings. The first item on the consent agenda for public comments would be SC 24-56, which is a resub of Lot 1 of Parker Acres. Is there anybody that came tonight on that item that you want to speak to it, against it? Against it. Okay. All right, we're going to take that one off. The next item is SPP 24-31, which is a resub of Lot 4A of Kiefer subdivision. Anybody here that's in opposition? In opposition. Oh, this is only if you're opposed to it. No one's opposed to that one, all right. The next one is SPP 24-32, the Bee Tree Creek Ranch. This is a 3-lot subdivision. Anyone here opposed to that one? You're opposed to it? Next one is SPP 24-33, Driftwood Cove subdivision. Y'all are butchering my consent agenda tonight, but that's all right. That's why we have this meeting, okay? All right, the next one is SPP 24-34, Homewood Acres subdivision. All right, that one's okay. All right, Planning Commission. At this time, then, I'm going to open the public hearing, and I'm going to list those that, and just know the first 2 items are not a public hearing, but we'll include those as, I'll just go ahead and list them out. PER 24-49 is on the consent agenda, Magnolia Acres Phase 2 extension. Then the PER 24-50, the South Bend Village Phase 3 and 4 extension. All right, and then the next item on the consent agenda would be SPP 24-31, the re-subdivision of Lot 4A, the Kiefer subdivision. And then SPP 24-34, Homewood Acres subdivision. All right, those are on a consent. I've opened the public hearing for those. I am now going to close the public hearing and entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like a motion we approve consent as presented.
Okay, Mr. Bias has made a motion that those be approved.
Seconded.
Greg Seibert seconded the motion. Any questions on the motion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, all of those items are then approved. Give me just a second. Okay, now we'll go back to the items that we took off consent agenda. The first one being SC 24-56. This is a resub of Lot 1, Parker Acres. I'm going to open the public hearing on that item. Ms. Waters, do you give a presentation on that one?
Yes, sir. All right, Commissioners, as you mentioned, this is application case number SC 2456, resub of Lot 1, Parker Acres. The property owners are Jerry and Sharon Holman, and this property is located in Planning District 2. The subject property is located east of Old Gainey Road, in the north side of Bay Minette. It is unzoned. Traffic study was not required. Drainage improvements were also not required, and the drainage narrative was reviewed and accepted by our permit engineers. Here is your aerial imagery map. Here is a copy of your preliminary plat. And staff is recommending approval, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay. I don't think we had any questions in our work session on this item, so I'm going to go straight to, all right, we had Tracy Milstead. You want to come up to this microphone, please?
Hi.
Hi.
Good afternoon. I'm Tracy Milstead, and I live on Old Gainey Road. That land is right there by my property. We bought our land. We have 22 acres, a little over 22 acres, so we wouldn't be in a subdivision. Also, there is no paved road frontage to this. This property appears to be behind us and actually should be owned by Jacob Pierce, from what we understand from the information we got.
Sorry, ma'am. You may be confusing this application with an application that we have to be presented later on into the property. The Jacob Pierce property is Lot 12. This is Lot 1. This is not owned by Jacob Pierce. There is a resub of Lot 12, Parker Acres, in the agenda to be presented, but it's not this case. We just happen to have two lots of the same subdivision for consideration tonight, but they're owned by different people. This one is not owned by Mr. Pierce.
What is the road frontage to this? Do they have access to this by Old?
Old Gainey Road, yes. And so is Lot 12.
And this one's paved.
Yes, Old Gainey Road is a county paved and maintained road.
That's not what I got here in my hands that I was sent in the mail to come. According to this, it's like a driveway. It's not road frontage.
Does it say lot 1 or 12?
Lot 12.
Yes.
This is lot 1.
This is Lot 1.
That's another item later in the agenda.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, so if you look here in the map, this is Lot 1 here on the east side, and Lot 12 is way up here on the west side where my cursor is. And we'll
Okay.
present that one here shortly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just hang tight. We'll call you back up.
Okay. Thank you.
Is that all right? So with that, I'm going to, I had no one else signed up on this one, so I'm going to entertain a motion on this item.
I'll make a motion we approve.
Okay?
No, second it.
Mr. Davis made a motion to approve. Michael Mullick seconded the motion. Have any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion's approved. All right. Next item is open a public hearing for case number SPP 24-32. This is the Bee Tree Creek Ranch. It's a 3-lot subdivision. Ms. Booth?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Okay, this is for SPP 24-32, Bee Tree Creek Ranch. It's preliminary plan approval for a 3-lot subdivision. It's located on the west side of County Road 87, just north of Seed Orchard Road. It's currently unzoned in Planning District 13. That's your subject property. And that's your proposed division. Common drives are required, and staff recommends that Bee Tree Creek Ranch be approved with conditions, subject to a commercial turnout permit being submitted. The common drive shall be installed, inspected, and accepted before a final plat application can be submitted. And then a commercial turnout permit release letter will be provided with the final plat application. And I'll answer any questions you may have.
Okay. I don't think there were any questions in work session, but I'll pause for a moment. Anybody? All right. I have Edmund Lester signed up to speak. If you'll come on up to the mic here.
Thank you. I was just notified about this. I'm actually just want to be here for information because I'm unaware. I'm actually an adjacent property owner, and I'd like to know what's the size of the lots in the subdivision. Are these? I do know now it's a 15 and a 5. Is it going to be an additional 5, or what is that going to be?
It looks like there is a 4-acre lot, almost a 5-acre, and another 6-acre lot.
Okay, so there's going to be 3 lots. Lot 1 is going to be 6 acres, Lot 2 is going to be 4.8 acres, and Lot 3 is going to be 4 acres.
And you said the one that which I'm to the north of the property, so the next one would be they're going to be required to put a drive in. Is that correct? Is that what I heard you say?
There are the yellow highlights there. If you can see those right here and here, that's where the common drives are going to be. Okay.
My big thing is just concern because, like I said, I'm an adjacent property owner and I have interest in what's going on next door to me.
Okay.
And so I'll leave it there and hear what's said about it.
Okay. I can go ahead and tell you, we're good with it. We've already met in work session. We had no issues with it. So
Yes, sir.
if you got any questions, now's the time, because I'm going to tell you at this point, we're getting ready to approve it.
Okay.
So there are no one else signed up in opposition or anything, so.
I have no reason to oppose it. You know, I'm just curiosity what's going to go on next door to me. That's my
Okay.
big thing.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
I do have one thing. If there's any future development, if they want to come in and further subdivide, it will have to come back before us again.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing on that item. Entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Mr. Mullick has made the motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, I heard Jamie. I heard Robert was trying to get in there. But, all right, Jamie seconded the motion. Any questions on the motion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right. That item is approved. Next item, I'm going to open the public hearing now for case number SPP 24-33. This is Driftwood Cove subdivision. Ms. Mitchell?
All right, this is a 13-lot subdivision. It's in Planning District 22 near Lillian. It's zoned RSF1. It's approximately 11.7 acres, and we have a wetland report, and we have utility letters and capacity reports. And it shows you where it is. It's alongside County Road 91, just north of County Road 98. And I have this oriented so that the north is actually to the left, so you can see it's lots 1 through 13. And I'll get the next one so you can see they are required to put in landscape buffers. The 40-foot landscape buffer is required adjacent to active agricultural use. And then the 20-foot is the standard next to the adjacent zoning, but is not agricultural use. And they are required to put in some detention ponds. We have several conditions for this one. They are required to put in common drives, and those are alternating. So one will have its own drive, and then there's one here, here, basically alternating every other lot, just to reduce the number of access points onto the road, county road. These conditions all are tied to the common drives, like basically how the applicant goes about that. They apply for commercial turnout permit, they install the drives, and then they'll need a turnout release letter when they're finished. They'll be turned in with the final plat. Provide a maintenance easement for the detention ponds. No fences or other obstacles can be installed within 20 feet of the pond edge along the eastern side. A note to that effect must be added to the plat. And 5, install the required landscape buffers. The detention ponds can extend into the area reserved for the landscape buffer by no more than 25%, and that's a requirement of the zoning ordinance, so they can go no more than 10 feet into the 40-foot buffer and 5 feet for the 20-foot buffer. So any questions?
Any questions for staff? Okay. Then I'm on Tracy Campbell.
All right, Tracy, I'm trying to find your
Good
slides.
afternoon. I think she's going to
I know we uploaded them for you, but I don't know where they went, so we'll open them again.
Okay. I'm actually in support of this subdivision. It is across the street from where I live. But I just have something I want to call to your attention that I'm hoping you might consider making a condition. Next slide, please.
Sorry,
I guess
I'm
I don't.
trying to
I guess I don't have.
do, my page thing, here we go, I was hitting the wrong button.
Yes, and this conforms to the master plan. We all know that. So I have no problem. Next one, please. Yes, this is part of the presentation that Ms. Mitchell just gave. And what was lacking there is that it's a two-dimensional, not a three-dimensional. So I've indicated where the elevations change. To the north, which is the left, is closest to the street I live on, Bartell Street. And that lot there's number 1. And the elevation there is 81 feet. The crest of a hill just further north of there, I'll show you a photo in a minute, is 87 feet. And so therefore this is a dip in the road. The elevation to the south, where lot 13 is 85 feet. And then going on toward Highway 98, it doesn't really matter in this instance. So could I see the next one, please?
Well, since you're frozen. There we go.
Oh, gosh, you can barely see it.
Can you see this one any better?
Oh, yes, that's much better. So I hope everyone can see it. This is coming from Bartell Street, which is on the east side of County Road 91. And as you can see to the right, heading northbound is the crest in the road, that is the 87-foot elevation. And the next, please. This is approaching, going northbound from the Highway 98 intersection. Going north, you can notice, I'm sorry, can you go back one?
No, sorry.
There, well, there, that's fine. 2 driveways on the right, 1 mailbox on the left. There are about 6 mailboxes on the left side of the road. Currently, I don't know how that will be handled, but there will be postal service going southbound on County Road 91. At the top of that hill there, you can barely see it, but I have it enlarged in a moment. But there is a car approaching from the crest of the hill going southbound. This allows you to see the incline in the road a little better. You can see where the two driveways are currently, and then Bartell Street, and the car coming southbound just cresting over the hill, plus the yellow do not pass line in the road. This is approximately where I estimate Lot 1 driveway would be, and that, as you can see, is facing the incline up to the crest of the hill, and I think the visibility there is limited for both northbound and southbound traffic. Was that the 3 minutes?
Yeah.
Oops.
So
Just
before
go
you
ahead.
leave,
Mainly, I'm just saying that if the one driveway could be placed on the south end rather than the north end, I think for safety reasons would be much better, and I wanted to bring that to your attention.
okay.
That's it.
All right, thank you, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Ms. Barnett, did you want to say anything? I know you represent the applicant. Did you have anything you need to add? I know you signed up, so.
I don't have the answer for the driveway, but we'll look at the line of sight and see what we can do on that.
I can speak on a little bit. So each one of these driveways are common driveways, and all of them will have to meet site distance requirements. So each one will be checked.
Okay. That will be addressed, is what you're saying?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. I don't have anybody else signed up, so I'm going to close the public hearing. Anybody have any comments or questions? Then I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we approve subject to staff conditions.
Okay. Mr. Sykes made a motion to approve subject to staff conditions. Have a second?
Second.
Who was that, Michael?
Yes.
Mr. Fletcher, second the motion. Any questions on the motion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, that took care of what we started out with our consent agenda. We now go to some old business, an item that's coming up from old business. Then I'm going to open the public hearing on this item because there was a change somewhat to the plan, just to be sure everybody knows what it is. And if you got a comment on this, I'll let you speak to this. We did have a public hearing the last time, but I think we've got time to allow people to speak. So I'm going to open the public hearing for case number PUD 24-10. This is the Southern Path RV Camp. Ms. Waters.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I'm just going to kind of go to the conditions page, then I'm going to show what has been changed since the November meeting when this was originally presented. Just a recap, this is a proposed RV park in the Stapleton area off of Highway 59. This is your site plan as originally presented in November. One of the conditions from the Planning Commission was that the applicant would provide additional information from ALDOT regarding the proposed access at the time. Well, the applicant went back and discussed with ALDOT, and they did require them to shift their access south. So as you can see here, the access has been shifted and more aligned with the median now. This is basically the biggest change since the November meeting. There were suggestions about and discussions about a possible landscape buffer, but since this is in an unzoned area, we cannot require the applicant to install a buffer. So if he chooses to do so, it would have to be something that is more on a voluntary basis. Other than that, the recommendation is of approval with the following conditions. Although the applicant has given us an email from verification with ALDOT allowing the revised site plan, we still would like to have a copy of the actual permit prior to submitting for construction plans review application. He will also, the applicant will also have to record the subdivision exemption where he is combining the two lot lines to make this one parcel. And this is more, the third condition is that he has to adjust the detention area so that the redesigned road is now located within the drainage improvements. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Any questions for staff? Okay, thank you, ma'am. I had no one signed up. I know Mr. Lee is here. Did you want to speak or not?
Unless y'all got questions.
Okay, you want to wait and see? No one probably signed up because you didn't know if there's going to be a public hearing, but if you want to speak to this, I'll let you come up and speak. You just need to come up and, come up here and then give us your name for the record, and I'll let you have your 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. I did speak at the November meeting, and I appreciate that. My name is Sylvia Stewart. I am a 20-year resident of Stapleton. I live on Trawick Road, which is directly across from this proposed development. And I want to thank Ms. Waters. She's been excellent in answering a lot of my questions about this. I feel this RV park is not compatible. It's non-compatible with our little community. And it's going to present a traffic hazard, even with the adjustment, which I do appreciate. But since I was at your last meeting in November, there have been 3 accidents between the gun range and the entrance into, or right across from Trawick Road. One was a fatality. You probably remember reading about that. So, it's a densely, that area is a very small turnaround. And most of the traffic, most of the people live on the same side of Trawick Road that I do. A lot of the subdivisions are back in there. And the school buses, they come out and they make the turn there on this particular boulevard. I'm not sure if there's anything you can do. I appreciate the change that you have requested of them. But I do know with 3 accidents since the last time I was here, that's pretty bad. So the traffic moves too fast. I don't know what you can do about that. But we are a growing community, and I expect more houses to be down Trawick Road and more subdivisions in that area. So thank you for considering this, and I appreciate your trying to help us with this. And also, I just had a point to make. I want to make sure or feel assured that the requirements that have been placed upon the applicant will be complied with. There have been some issues in the past when that did not happen. We have a gun range that applied as a archery range. It's now a gun range situated between a lot of people who live there, same applicant. So if there's any assurances that could be given to the public, I would appreciate that. If this will stay the way that it's proposed, then that's a nice looking development. But again, my concern is the traffic is non-compatible to our little community, and will it continue to be a nice place, or will it be changed on us? Thank you for your consideration.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Was there anybody else on this item? Chris, if you don't mind, I got a question for you. And it's related to what she was mentioning, and I appreciate the fact you did get with ALDOT, but do you still have more work to do with ALDOT? In other words,
Yes.
turn lanes are they going to be considered on this? Have they already been addressed, or what's the situation?
So as far as turn lanes, there was no mention of turn lanes during the preliminary conversations I had with ALDOT. However, we are going through the full permitting process, and if they feel that the turn lanes are necessary, then we have to abide by their rules. So there may be a turn lane coming. It hasn't been brought up yet, but if I were to guess, there probably is going to be one.
I guess my question is, these are RVs. Somebody's pulling a rather lengthy RV, and he pulls out to go north.
Right.
And he gets out in that median, and it's not deep enough, and there's no turn lane. His tail end sticking out on the southbound lanes, is it not?
So let's see if I get the turn around.
If he's crossing the median, and he's in the median, and that median is not wide enough, it doesn't look like it'd be wide enough to me for a truck pulling a one of the lengthy RVs. That means if he's waiting on traffic, then it's not his tail end sticking out in the southbound lanes?
So the southbound lane, there's actually a turn lane there. It's kind of hard to see, so that's an extra 12 feet. So I believe, it's not up on the screen, but I did actually model that with the software, and there's, I believe, I don't remember exactly how many feet, but he's safe with the northbound and southbound traffic.
Bottom line, I would assume that ALDOT would look at this as you go through that
100%.
process.
100%, yeah, they always do.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions? Mr. Lee? Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir, thank you.
All right, any other questions or comments on this item? I'm going to close the public hearing, if I hadn't done that already, and I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve, including staff conditions.
Mr. Bice has made a motion to approve subject to staff conditions. Do I have a second?
Second.
Ms. Burnett has seconded the motion. Any questions on the motion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, we're going to go to a couple of rezoning cases now and open the public hearing for case number Z24-50, Kimbrough property. Ms. Boykin? I don't think I've said this, but make sure I say it on this one. Does anybody need to declare any prior communication on this item? Particularly we get to these rezoning cases, I want to make sure we're, all right. Go ahead, Ms. Boykin.
All right. This is a request to rezone 114 acres from RA, Rural Agricultural, and RR, Rural District, to RSF2 for a single-family use. The subject property is located in Planning District 21. There are 4 parcels that are asking to be rezoned, and the total acreage is 114 acres. Currently, the property is used agriculturally. Here, the properties are highlighted on the locator and site map. The adjacent zonings are RSF2, M1, rural agriculture, and RR. Most of the adjacent land uses are agriculture, commercial, single family. There is a RV park and also a dirt pit in the adjacent area. These are all the factors that staff considered when doing the staff report. As you can see, most of them were met. As stated earlier, the nearby uses range from agriculture, commercial, industrial, to residential. The nearby properties to the west are also RSF2, and there's also RSF3 in the area. The proposed zoning the master plan, it falls under the future land use of rural agricultural and low impact development. This supports some of the RR, RA, and larger lot zoning districts, but it also supports the development pattern that may include some conservation subdivisions for clustering in order to preserve some of the open space in the area. Staff has recommended approval of this rezoning request from RA and RR to RSF2.
Okay, any questions for staff? Okay. I'm gonna, Jeremy Taylor, since you're the engineer, do you want to speak first? We have several sign up in opposition, so I'll let you speak first, and then if we need to call you back up, we will.
Jeremy Taylor with MTTR Engineer. We're located in Hoover, Alabama. Again, we're proposing to take 4 parcels, roughly 115 acres on County Road 12, and rezone them from RR/RA to RS, make sure I get your zoning right, RSF-2. You know, we've done a couple of preliminary layouts, but we're still playing with the layout to get it to meet all the zoning. And we're working, we just got our preliminary study back for the wetlands, so we have to adjust one more time to keep away from impacting that. And,
Mr. Dixon, this is the one of those cases when they do this one, it'll come under the new regulations, subdivision regulations, right?
That's correct, because the subdivision application has not been submitted yet, so whenever that does come forward, it'll be in some new regulations.
Sorry I interrupted you, but
No, you're good.
I want to be sure we were clear on that too. Okay.
So do y'all have any questions for me?
All right,
right
anybody
now?
have any questions for the engineer? Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Mr. Brasher, did you want to speak now or not? Mr. Brasher's the developer, so I'm going to let him speak, and then I'll go to those that are here in opposition.
Hey guys, we just, after meeting with staff, we just tried to bring something forward that was, like I said, met with the future use plans in the area, keeping that in mind, making sure that, you know, that we're conscious of that, and of course, staying within, you know, the new subdivision regulations and all that. So thank you guys for your time.
Okay, thank you, sir. All right, I'm going to have those that have signed up in opposition, Narissa Nelson.
We don't have a lot of people here tonight because a lot of people didn't know about that, including me. But what I wanted to say was that about a year ago, we were attempting to get some subdivision or some zoning laws in a certain area of the county, and I was involved in that, and it was voted down basically by the transplants and the Yankees, quite frankly. And their main concern when they would come to the meetings was if we zone, if we turn our life over to the zoning and we have to, you know, get permits to put sheds up or to move something, are they going to protect us like they say they are? And we were instructed to tell them, yes, that's your only hope of having any kind of protection from mass development and things like that. This property is zoned. Excuse me, I'm about to cough. This property is zoned, and so now this is in the same area. In fact, it's across the street from the area we were trying to get zoned last year. So do we have protections or not if we ask for zoning in our areas? That's the only thing I have to say, because Sheena's got a lot more to say about it. Thank you.
All right. Sheena McCluskey.
Okay, my name is Sheena McCluskey. I live at 8741 Norris Lane, which adjoins this property to the west. I want to say that I went looking for a zoning sign. It states in your zoning ordinance in 19.16.4 that a conspicuous sign should be placed 3 weeks prior to the public hearing. The sign that I found was halfway down Roy Waters Road that is not traveled by the public. This property adjoins County Road 12, which is a paved public road, and it is a collector street and gets a lot more traffic. That would be a lot more conspicuous if you ask me. The ordinance also states in 19.16.5 that there should be a public advertisement in the newspaper for 3 weeks prior to the public hearing. I was looking for that yesterday and called, and I was told that that would not run until after this meeting. I also want to point out that while there may be RSF2 to the northeast corner of this property, the majority of the property adjoining this is still active agricultural property. The entire north side of County Road 12 is a turf farm. The property to the south and west is a turf farm. Our property to the west is a small family farm that's been our family for nearly 100 years and 6 generations. We also, Norris Lane is also a privately maintained dirt road. I want to point out that the other portion of this property is wetlands and Skunk Bayou, the headwaters of Skunk Bayou, and it needs to be protected. This does not comply. The proposed rezoning does not comply with the master plan. The current zoning does. And for, let's see. So for these reasons, I'd like to ask that you do not recommend approving this to the county commission. And at the very least, I'd like to ask for you to hold it over so that we have additional time to notify the public and review what this type of a change would mean for us, as well as the newly approved subdivision regulations that were just approved on Tuesday and how this might affect our property.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Donald Grantham.
My name's Donald Grantham. I live at 13780 Norris Lane in Foley. I am here representing Tommy and Dana Cleverton, who own the property called Play Dirt just to the southwest corner there, which is mostly wetlands because of Skunk Bayou. We are concerned about the growth, the watershed runoff, and the development down Norris Lane, which is not a county maintained road. We maintain it, and it is in bad shape, and we do not want more traffic coming up and down that lane. We use it for travel back and forth to the fields for the trucks and the tractors, and some of the neighbors use it to get to County Road 16, but we do not want to increase flow of traffic in that direction. So we request at this time y'all do not approve it. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Sonia McCluskey.
I'm Sonia McCluskey. We have the family farm that's on the west side of Norris Lane, and where they're wanting to build and add all these houses, there's a creek running through there, and it's going to cause the traffic to be really bad. We already have horrible traffic on 12, and the county sign that they put up, they actually moved it today and put it out on County Road 12. They did it this afternoon about 2:30, because I was out on the road and saw them out there. But my main concern is the flooding. When it rains and we have these bad rains, all of the water from that field comes straight down our driveway, through our yard, and back through the west side. It flooded all the way up to our front door, and our schools are overloaded. We just don't need any more houses. They're filling up all of the farmland. Everywhere around us is just subdivision after subdivision after subdivision. It's just too much. Our medical can't handle all the people, and I just don't feel like we need it.
Okay.
We actually had a new subdivision coming behind us, and the kids were coming and climbing underneath our electric fence to get in with our animals, and we were scared they were going to get hurt. So.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Amber Myrick.
My name is
is Amber Myrick. I live to the west of this proposed zoning change. I'm opposed to this change. All this does is invite more people, which invites more traffic, and it invites more crime, and it invites all negative. We already have enough of that, and I'm just totally opposed to it.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, that's all I had signed up to speak. Before I close the public hearing, I'm going to let, if anybody has any questions about what we've been mentioned, or if you need a response from the engineer, I'm going to let him come back up. But any questions? Michael?
Yes, so the new subdivision regulations will appropriately address the drainage through that area?
They will, yes. When they submit for a subdivision application is when we'll review it against the new subregs.
Right, because I agree with them.
They're just applying for a rezoning right now.
Okay. There is quite a bit of runoff that goes through there, and I know that the highway department has been putting in new drainage ditches and culverts and things like that, so hopefully they'll do a real good job of looking at that as well, because it does look like it's the headwaters to a major creek.
Yes, sir. So this is just a reminder that, like I mentioned in the work session, this is just the zoning case, but you're correct. When it comes time for the technical review of all the, engineering standards and requirements, all those will be by the new regulations, which, if you recall, we, had some substantial improvements to our stormwater and traffic requirements. So all those things will be addressed. It's just, this is not the stage that those items are addressed in our regulations.
Right. The other comment that I have is, I know I do see the rezoning signs occasionally, but to put it on a dirt road is probably incorrect.
Yeah, we actually added a second one up on County Road 12, and we are in compliance with all the regulations and state law requirements for advertisement, because keep in mind, this, as y'all say every time, this is, you are making a recommendation to the county commission, so what the state law requires and the orders requires actually is the notification for the county commission meeting, but we always advertise it all the way through. So we have corrected that so that if anyone else wants to come when it goes to county commission, all the signs are up now, but it did run in the paper. It did meet all the other requirements like it's supposed to.
Understood.
I have a couple of questions for the staff. What's the lot size for RA and RR? Do you know?
Yeah. Let me go back to my first slide.
I'm sorry,
RA, the minimum lot size is 3 acres.
Okay.
For RR, it's 40,000 square feet. And then the requested RSF2 is 15,000 square feet.
Okay,
And that was rezoned 2009, so that's all within that requirement of the zoning area.
Correct, yes.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions? None? Oh, I'm sorry. No. Hang on a second. Not yet. You're fortunate I haven't closed the public hearing yet, but let me make sure we don't have anybody else up here first. All right, any other questions? All right, you're lucky I didn't close the public hearing, so I'm going to let you come up. Reed, go ahead.
I just got one. With respect to the comment that's being made about maybe not being made aware of this case, and I can understand why maybe there's some confusion there with where the sign was placed, but to that effect, is there anything, information lacking now, the information y'all have now? Are there more questions y'all have that aren't being answered, or is it just a matter of maybe wanting to garner support and notify your neighbors and let them know what's going on? But do we lack any information here as to what the proposal applicant wants?
You'll have to, wait a minute, before you do that, Reed, if we do this, we're going to open up the whole pandas box here for everybody. Do you want a specific answer from one person Because I'd rather that,
Reed,
The most practical way to handle that, yes. Do we pick a person to do
Yes.
that?
Mr. Key, can I clarify something for, we do send letters to the adjacent property owners of the public hearing, and as far as the newspaper advertisement, we do that, but that is for the county commission public hearing, so that's why it has not ran yet. Once it gets scheduled for the county commission hearing is when we advertise in the newspaper.
Yeah, sure, and I'm not saying anybody didn't get a fair shake. I just want to make sure that the communities that do adopt zoning feel like they have an opportunity to know what's going on and be able to, at least feel well informed. I'm not sure the most practical way to get that answered, but.
okay, well, hang on. I'm going to let you speak first. Give us your name.
Denise Nall Knox. I live just west of all this, and I was wondering how many houses about this was going to encompass. Any no way to know?
No way to know because there are wetlands on the site, there's drainage, they'll have to have a pond. There's a lot of factors that go into that that's going to be done if this gets rezoned. So it's going to be kind of hard to tell you how many lots specifically. But they can only do 15,000 square foot lots, and
Everybody ends up at 2 four-way stops, and it's awful. It's awful.
and that's why a traffic study is required, drainage, all these items, a lot of the things you mentioned tonight would be addressed once they submit a subdivision. And our new regulations have now got, they have items in it that are going to make it a little bit more stringent than what has been in the past. This site is one of those sites that's going to be very difficult because of the topography of the land. A lot of things are going to have to be addressed. So it's not an easy course from them here on, but this is the first step.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
Ms. Nelson, I'm going to let you speak to Mr. Key's question. Beyond that, I'm not going to allow any more to come up and speak, so I'll let you speak. So, but you'll need to come to the mic. So, Reed, I'll let you ask Ms. Nelson the question, and then hopefully she can answer your question.
I just try to be more specific. So one option that y'all mentioned is you would like to see us possibly table this, but to what effect? Is it so that you can become more well-informed and there's stuff lacking here that you don't feel like your neighbors were privy to before this?
I know the neighbors weren't privy to before this. And it had the sign been on County Road 12, which is the traversed road there, there would probably be a lot more people here. And also more brains pour in more input to what people think in the neighborhood. Not to mention, I believe the regulations say the sign has to be in the conspicuous place for 3 weeks before any of this happens. And it was just put there today.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, with that, I'm going to close the public hearing. I think we've heard the comments, so anybody have any other questions? The engineer's still here. In fairness to him, I'll let him respond, or you can ask a question of him. Okay.
I've got one more question. In the past, they have required for a new subdivision coming in, I know this is beyond this, but that they contribute money to enhance maybe an intersection or an area close to this proposed RSF2. So what is the criteria for a subdivision developer to contribute money towards developing or enhancing a intersection that's close to that subdivision?
Right. So, again, that whole process is part of the subdivision process, not the zoning process. But how that process generally works is one of the criteria for the subdivision application is they have to provide a TIS. Part of that traffic impact study, it has to be performed by a professional engineer licensed by the state of Alabama and approved by the county engineer with our new regulations. So we have, we have tightened up who is qualified to perform traffic studies. The results of that traffic study come back. So let me back up. Before the traffic study is begun, we have a scoping meeting with the county engineer and the permit engineer to scope these are the areas you need to look at, these intersections, these roadways as part of your traffic study. Here's your growth rate factor that you have to add into your study to show what the traffic growth, the annual growth is, to run your study. So what that does is that makes sure it's very accurate for the area being studied, because
Right.
Baldwin County, it's very diverse, traffic is very diverse in different parts of the county, so we want to make sure that we're studying it the right way and studying with the right growth rates in the right areas. So the results of that traffic study often come back with the requirement to improve certain intersections nearby because of the increase in traffic, and that would be a condition of the approval of the subdivision plat, saying that the developer would either have to construct it, or in some cases where there's multiple developments in the same area, they all contribute a fair share to a bigger project. So there's a couple of different ways of doing that. It's basically to aid the construction if there's multiple developments going on in the area, or if it's a singular development causing the issue, they would just have to construct it on their own.
Okay.
As part of the project.
Great, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? All right, so we are just looking at zoning tonight. So really the question for us tonight is whether this zoning request is appropriate for this area. We've pretty much been told what the intent is. They're looking at development. We know how that's going to be addressed with subdivision reg. But at this point, we're looking at a recommendation to the county commission for the rezoning request. So you have the option of tabling it if you think that that's more time's needed for that to come back. But otherwise, the other motion would be making a motion to either recommend approval or denial of this request to the county commission. I've closed the public hearing, so unless you have any other questions, I'll entertain a motion.
I'd like to ask one question.
Yes,
Sorry
sir.
to bring it up at the end. But how long had the sign been up? Has it only been up for one day like the lady said, or has it been up for the 3 weeks? And why was it not placed on the paved road versus a side road?
So the sign has been up for 3 weeks. It was placed in front of the bulk of the property, which was on the side road. But most of the property front's the side road. We added the sign on the front of County Road 12 today. But again, just to clarify, that advertising requirement really is setting up, we always do it for planning commission too, but the way the ordinance reads, that really is a requirement to get to the public hearing at county commission. So we are always well ahead of the required schedule for that. So we're still in compliance with that. The way the sign was placed, the way we do it, we place it on the bulk of the property in a conspicuous location so it's seen. In this case, it was just happened to be on a side road. But when we heard some concerns about it, we added another sign to make sure that people would know about it coming up to county commission later.
I mean, we kind of go above and beyond with notice that was not really required under the statute, the Alabama statute, for the planning commission to consider the rezoning. The statute really contemplates the notice that has to be done by the final governing body on the rezoning, which is the county commission, because we're just a recommendation. But I do believe the adjoining landowners still get notice in the mail, correct? And we keep the certified mail and a good track record of all that. So if you are an adjoining landowner, you get the certified mail about the rezoning application.
Okay?
I have one quick question.
Okay. That's not too quick.
I know, I'm thinking about how to word it. So R2, the minimum lot width is 80.
That's correct.
80. So we know that this parcel is going to have some development challenges. So may not be as dense as an R2 would allow, and will never go below an 80-foot lot.
That is correct. And I would expect on this site with the challenges that, they've already mentioned the wetlands that they're studying and different things. It's certainly, because quite honestly, it's very difficult for any site to maximize the allowable density. It's just practically impossible to do. But in this site, it's got some additional challenges that would kind of limit the overall density to it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? All right, I'll entertain a motion for a recommendation to the county commission. Or unless you are recommending a table.
I'll recommend approval to the county commission.
All right, Mr. Davis has made a motion that we recommend approval to the county commission. Do you have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Key? All right, so we have a motion and a second that we make a recommendation to the county commission to approve the request. Any questions on the motion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, I heard just one, so motion carries. So just know that this now goes the next step, which is a public hearing with the county commissioners. And the sign is there, and it will be advertised if it's not already been, so that they've already got that underway for the county commission. All right. We'll go to our next item and open the public hearing for case number Z24-53, the Gatlin property. Does anybody need to clear prior communication on this item? Ms. Rhodes.
All right, thank you, Commissioners and Mr. Chairman. This is case Z2453, the Gatlin property. The request is to rezone from RA to RSF2, and staff's recommendation is approval. Here's the location of the property within the county. It's located in Planning District 30. The subject property is north of the Foley Beach Express and west of Roscoe Road. It's about 40 acres, and the current use is residential, and they would like to rezone for a future residential development. And we have the property image to the left, and we have the adjoining property images here. Here's the locator map and the site map. The adjacent zonings to the north, south, and east are rural agricultural, and we see RM1, which is multifamily residential low density, and this is within the city of Orange Beach, and all the adjacent land uses are vacant. Here are the factors that staff analyzes and considers for any rezone request, and staff believes that the majority of the factors have been met. In terms of the requested change being compatible with the existing development pattern and zoning, we see that the uses less than 1 mile from the property include high-density residential and commercial, and this is along the Foley Beach Express, and so we can see some compatibility with the existing development pattern in the surrounding area. In terms of changes, since zoning was adopted in 1995 for this planning district, and since then there have been numerous rezonings and many annexations. The proposal does conform to the master plan. The subject property falls within moderate density development, which supports RSF2 zoning, and you can see that here on our future land use map. In terms of traffic patterns or congestion, the proposed change may influence traffic patterns or congestion. This will be addressed during the subdivision or site plan review, and a traffic study will be required that will recommend any improvements. In terms of the amendment being consistent with the development patterns, we can see based on the City of Orange Beach's zoning map that we do have a development pattern showing high density residential and commercial. And then to the east and south, we have agricultural. And staff's recommendation of the requests from RA to RSF2 is approval. And I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, any questions for staff? Okay. Only have one signed up. Mr. Lee, did you want to speak?
I'll answer any questions you have. I just will add one thing, that RM1 property across the street is currently is under construction for townhomes. So they're building townhomes across the street from this one. Other than that, I'll answer any questions that y'all may have.
Okay, any questions for Chris? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I had no one else signed up to speak. I'll close the public hearing then. Anybody have any questions? I'll entertain a motion. This is a recommendation to the county commission.
I'll make a motion to recommend approval.
Mr. Mullis made a motion to recommend approval. Do I have a second?
Seconded.
Mr. Seibert seconded the motion. Any questions on the motion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, we have a couple of subdivision cases, so now open a public hearing for case number SC 24-58 and SV 24-19. This is a re-subdivision of Lot 12, Parker Acres.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you mentioned, this is for case SC 2458 and SV 2419. The subject property is located on Planning District 2. Subject property is west of Old Gainey Road, north of Bay Minette area. It is unzoned. The request is to divide 26 acres into 2 lots. The smallest lot's about 11.1 acres. Drainage improvement narratives was not required, and it was reviewed and accepted by the permit engineer. Here is an aerial of the location. And here is a copy of your proposed plat. Enlarged version. I'm going to just pause here real quick. So the request for the variance is to create Lot 12A without a flag lot, so not fronting on the county-maintained road, and instead of being accessed through deserted lane, which is on the south side highlighted there. The existing flagstaff of Lot 12 is approximately 71 feet wide and could potentially be wide enough to create 2 30-foot wide minimum flag lots. All right. Here is a copy of the original Parker Acres subdivision, where you can see deserted lane was created as part of the subdivision for access to the lots that were 20 acres and greater at the time. The variance request is from the applicant wishes to re-subdivide Lot 12 of Parker Acres subdivision into 2 lots where the proposed Lot 12A will be accessed, as I mentioned, through deserted lane, a 50-foot egress-ingress easement rather than a flag lot that fronts on the county-maintained road. Here are the criteria that the applicant answered on the variance application. The granting of the variance will not be detrimental to the public safety, health, and welfare or injurious to the other property. The applicant's comment was that the resultant parcel of rural timberland will be approximately 11 acres along existing private access. There are no improvements proposed on the parcel. The second criteria is the conditions upon which the request for variance is based are unique to the property for which the variance is sought. The response was that the parcel will be used to help satisfy the requirement of legal proceedings. The third criteria is please explain how, because of the particular physical surroundings, shape, topographical conditions of the specific property involved, a particular hardship to the owner would result as distinguished from a mere inconvenience if the strict letter of these regulations is carried out. The response was the same as the previous response, that the parcel will be used to help satisfy the requirement of legal proceedings. The variance will not in any manner vary the provisions of other adopted policies and regulations of Baldwin County. And the applicant answered that creating the 11 parcel will not will not be detrimental to the other surrounding properties. Here is staff's recommendation. We are recommending denial of the case number for the variance SV 2419 due to non-compliance with the Baldwin County subdivision regulations. And for the staff recommendations of SC 2458 of Parker, Lot 12 of Parker Acres, staff is recommending approval with conditions. Condition 1 being the proposed Lot 12 and 12A within the preliminary plat shall be altered to include individual lot access via parallel Flagstaff corridor connecting to Old Gainey Road to comply with the Baldwin County subdivision regulations. A sub-bullet point to that is that this condition of approval shall be null and void should case number SV 2419 be approved by the Planning Commission. And condition number 2, being memorialized that the Baldwin County permit engineer reserves the right to require a commercial turnout permit to construct a common driveway for connection of the parallel Flagstaff to Old Gainey Road. If the variance is denied, staff recommends approval of the subdivision if Lot 12A is revised to show the flag proposed in red down below. And if it is the pleasure of the Planning Commission to approve case SV 2419, condition 1 of case SC 2458 will not be required and null and void. I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right, any questions? Okay. Okay, go ahead.
Bobby, if the applicant were to include that flag, you know, as you've shown in red, this would then meet our statutory requirements, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
I have a question, Fabia. On our printed agenda, the staff was recommending denial. What changed? Is it the new layout of the?
No, there is no new layout. The layout's the same. It's just after I met with the senior staff, they kind of redirected and helped me come up with a better condition for the subdivision, but we still remained in recommendation of denial of the variance.
Any other questions?
So the conditions are the reason for the approval?
Yes.
All right, I'm gonna did Ms. Milstead stay? You did. All right, now this is the one I think you wanted to speak to, so if you're welcome to come up at this time.
And to be honest, it seems a little confusing. Is he wanting to access through deserted lane?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Number one, when we bought our property, we had to pay for deserted lane. And we bought every tree, all the dirt. That is going to be very costly for them to do a road there. And we don't agree to this. I mean, it would have to be a Baldwin County maintained road. And like I said, we had to buy that piece of property. That is a right of way, I understand that. But no, we bought out in the country and did not buy to have a subdivision right behind us. And no, we totally oppose this.
Okay.
We're not for this. We feel like it will affect us negatively.
Okay.
No,
Thank you, ma'am. That's all I had signed up.
I have one question for staff.
Okay.
As Parker Lane, or Deserted Lane is not, it would be okay if this was going back to a 20-acre lot.
Yes.
I mean, if I, you know, if this little lot over here, or the top lot was 5 acres and the bottom one was 21 acres, it would work.
Well, for a large lot subdivision, all lots in the subdivision have to be a minimum of 20 acres.
Okay,
so
we
you can't
couldn't-
have one less than 20 acres and another 20 acres.
Okay, the easement's only there because they did a 20-acre subdivision. That's how the easement was created. But now that they're breaking it less than 20, by our regulations, that easement is not appropriate by
Yes.
regulation
For
for this size lot. So that's the variance request. And by the way, we will deal with the variance first.
Yes, when you
because
do
that
take your
will
action. Mhm.
dictate how we take action on the subdivision. So,
Yes.
first off, any other questions?
And just so I understand this, there is an easement that they legally have access to the property along Deserted Lane.
Deserted Lane is an alternative route of access to that parcel, as well as the flag lot, because when the subdivision, the original subdivision was created, Deserted Lane was part of that subdivision.
Yeah, as an easement.
Mhm.
So I guess I'm thinking hypothetically that if we did approve the subdivision, they do have access to it, although it's not through a flag lot.
It would be through Deserted Lane, yes. 12A would be accessed through Deserted Lane.
Gotcha, thank you.
Mhm.
And is the east portion of 12A, is it buildable and meet the setbacks?
Yes, I
Just
think.
wondering how to get back to the,
I think they would have enough space to build an area. I don't know the exact square footage of this area. They would have to have at least 40,000 square feet of upland areas. But it could be likely that they'd have that. Or else they'd have to do an engineered septic system for less than 40,000 square feet, but no less than 20,000 square feet in order to have a, septic tank.
okay.
And they would have to have a permit to cross the wetlands.
Correct.
Well, if they just did a house like here on the east side of the proposed 12A, there would be no wetland crossing.
Okay.
Yes, it's only if they're trying to get to the very back.
But he still owns the property that is uplands west of those wetlands that he may
Yes.
want to get to. So if he wants to, we've now cut him off.
Yes.
He's cut himself off by creating that property line.
Yes, yes.
And he's only going to get to it through a
Wetland
permit.
crossing, yes.
Yeah, so he's basically restricted to that eastern
To
portion of the lot.
that small portion on the east side.
I don't know his business, but it sure seems to me he'd been a lot smarter to move that north property line, or the line between 12 and 12A about 20 feet to the north, and would have allowed himself access to the backside of his property without a permit.
Yes, you are correct.
And if this is denied, this comes back under the new subdivision regulations.
And do keep in mind, these wetlands reflected here, they have not been delineated. They're just the potential wetlands from our map. So maybe he could have straight access, all the way through the west, but we would not know that unless he gave us a delineation.
Okay. Any other questions? Because we're going to break this down into our variance first, but did you have one, Greg?
Yeah, I guess I don't understand. We're showing Deserted Lane as a 50-foot easement that was created when Parker Acres, the original 20-acre parcel was created.
Yes.
Well, now, he's going to split that up, but if the lady that came up here owns the easement, or did she buy the easement by mistake? I mean, I don't understand.
We would have to have some sort of title search to know that for sure, because here's a copy of the plat.
Because if I own the easement, don't want you to drive on it, I'm going to tell you no.
Right.
So that, we come across this issue a lot, but so when the plat was recorded, that legal easement for access to those lots are there. That property is owned by whoever owns that lot, but there is a deeded access easement across it to someone. What you just said does happen a lot, is that someone blocks an easement that they have legal rights to, and that is completely outside of the county. That is a civil matter between property owners. We really can't do anything about it because it's not a public right of way. But that platted easement, the easements by nature are always on someone's property that they own. And so in this case, whoever owns that, the lady that owns that lot, she owns that easement, but there are legal documents that grant access across her property to these other people. Those are all things that are outside the county's regulatory authority, so we don't really get involved in that. But that is an existing easement. It's really not even part of the plat being discussed today, other than just just documenting that there is an existing easement that accesses this property that's being subdivided.
So we may have talked about this, and I've already, but all of a sudden, that light went off. If we don't grant the variance, and we do grant the subdivision, which requires, and with the condition he's got to put the access through the flag lot, what keeps him from not using that easement now to access that lot?
That easement is there.
Nothing.
It can be used. There is nothing about this application that's affecting that easement in any way. What we're trying to accomplish is getting into compliance with the regulation that all lots must front a public road.
Yes.
It's not about access, it's about fronting a public road is what we're trying to come into compliance with. So, but that easement, it's there today, and nothing about this plat is
You're right.
affecting that easement.
Okay? All right, with that, let's deal with
I have a question. Will they lose? Is it, as they're dividing this less than 20 acres, and let's say they have access to deserted lane today, and as they go and do this subdivision process and reduce both of these lots to less than 20 acres, would they potentially lose that access that they have now because they're not accessing a lot that's 20 acres?
No, that easement's already recorded. Now, the details about who has rights to that easement, I don't know, and that's outside of our authority. So whoever
We just almost, without a variance, can't create a lot without proper connection to a paved.
County road.
Exactly.
Yes.
Okay, with that, I'm going to ask for a motion on SV 24-19 on the variance request.
Make a motion to deny the variance request.
All right, Mr. Mullis made a motion that we deny it.
Second.
Ms. Stradger seconded the motion. Any questions on the motion? This is just on the variance.
Yes.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. So now we have the subdivision request,
Yes.
and your options are, Ms. Waters, I'm going to allow you to take us through the muddy water on this. I think I've got it, but I want to hear our options.
You can choose to approve and include a condition that the applicant has to conform to what's outlined here in red, where he's going to add the flag lot to 12A to connect to the county road. You can choose to ignore the request, the recommendation to include the flag lot, and it allow 12A to only have access through deserted lane, or you can just outright deny it.
Okay.
Is the applicant here?
I don't know.
Is the applicant here on this one? I guess not.
Mr. Chairman, forgive me for interjecting, just to clarify. Because the variance has now been denied, the only approval route is with the conditions of approval you have before you.
I think I'll say it this way. If we recommend approval with the alternative shown by Fabio with this flag lot in red, that gives him the option to modify, it'll be conditioned on him modifying his plat to include it that way. If we deny it, then he will be required to wait 4 months before coming back with a plan.
Yes.
So, everybody understand that? So that's...
If we approve it, could he come back with an alternate plan and ask for another approval?
I would think so.
Yeah, if you approve it and he has a different plan that he wants to bring back to you, he could certainly bring a different plan back for a reapproval.
All he has to do is not record the plat.
Okay, well,
We're just offering him one choice here, and
Well,
he can take it or...
If that's the scenario, would we be better off tabling it and allowing him to bring the alternative to us and not put the condition? Because the way I interpret it, and I could be incorrect, is the condition we have, number one, is basically bringing something that reflects what's illustrated on the screen. Any different than that would be a new application. Or am I wrong in that thinking?
I think that since we denied the variance, if we take no action, it's denied, right?
Well, you'd
Yeah,
still have
you-
to vote on it.
You would need to take an action, so,
Yes.
yeah, you could table it to have the plat revised, Mr. Bias, like you're saying to reflect what's drawn there, or, you know, some other version, if he has another version to do that.
That makes sense.
You know, you certainly could table it. Like I said, you could do it with a condition, which is, you're going to end up pretty much at the same spot.
I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I don't disagree. You know,
Yes.
maybe we're creating another case. We have to see this again as opposed to
Well,
giving him the condition.
Either way, we
By
still gotta
approving
see
it
it.
with this condition, and he agrees to it, then he doesn't have to come back.
Right.
So
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
by tabling it, we're forcing him to come back.
And then if you deny it, then he may do this and come back in 4 months.
That's right.
And if you grant it because you're okay with this, because this is the only way it sounds like it can really be done, and he's good, it sounds like he's in a legal proceeding where he has to divide this land up to satisfy the divorce court. So if you're telling him this is the only way to do it, then you may never see him again.
Or he may choose
don't
to
know.
not record the
Or he-
plat
yeah, just don't
and,
record the plat and it goes away.
yes.
All right. Hopefully, everybody's got a thought on this now, so I'll see which one of you want to step out there and actually make a motion on SC 24-58.
I'll make a motion that we approve with the conditions set forth by staff.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Davis.
Seconded.
All right, I have a couple, but I think I heard Greg, he's sitting right next to me, and Mr. Seibert has seconded Mr. Davis's motion to approve subject staff conditions as outlined by Ms. Fabia here with the red flag light. Any questions? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Last item on our agenda of subdivisions. I'll open a public hearing for case number SV 24-18. This is the Paul and Janet Smith Family Exempt Subdivision Variance. Does anybody need to clear prior communication on this item? Ms. Booth?
Okay, so the applicant is Paul and Janet Smith. They have applied for a family exempt subdivision to divide one parcel into two. The resulting parcels both would be non-conforming, both would be less than the required 20,000 square foot. So they're coming before us tonight to try to get a variance from the subdivision regulation for that effect. This is the location of the property. This shows the existing and proposed. There is an existing dwelling on the property, and then they're going to do a parcel A, which is 19,806 square feet, and parcel B is 19,747 square feet. And I'll answer any questions you may have.
Okay, any questions for staff? None? Okay, so Mr. You have a question?
Yeah, quick question.
Okay.
So this would not require road frontage?
It is located on Greeno Road. Since it's a family division, all they have to do is provide an easement.
Okay.
And Mr. Bias, keep in mind, this is just this is not the plat, this is a variance, yeah.
All right, Mr. Smith?
I'm Paul Smith. Thank you for the privilege of speaking to you tonight. My wife and I are both 84 years old. We both have a myriad of health problems. We are in the process of making our final plans, but I've still got a little bit of work to do. I got a lot of preaching yet to do, and we got a lot of estate planning yet to do. And we have a fair amount of property scattered around. We're in the process of making some subdivisions out of it, and this piece that's subject here is a little bit less than an acre on Greeno Road. It has 2 rental houses on it. We have 2 grandsons. We would love to divide this and leave one house each to the grandsons. This will give them a good boost and a start in life. We would appreciate it if you would, we need your help. Let's find some way we can divide this property and leave a house each to each grandson. We would appreciate that very much, and anything you need to ask me. I believe divided up, they're about 19,000 square feet or something, and the regs call for 20,000. We are requesting a variance to let us divide that so that we can will this out to our grandsons.
Okay, any questions for Mr. Smith?
I have a question. Do the two houses have sewer and water?
Yes.
Public sewer and water?
They have public water. I don't know if the sewer is public or not. It may be septic. I think each one may be on septic tanks.
Do they share a septic tank?
I'm sorry?
Do they share a septic tank? Or are there two different septic tanks?
They're different septic tanks. Each one has its own tank. And so they're not on the same common tank. They have different tanks.
The reason I ask is I believe there's a health department rule that these lots won't meet that for septic tanks. But I don't know if it's existing. I don't know.
I'm not sure there is public sewer at this location.
Right.
Ms. Burnett, you're correct. So our regulations that require this, because this is an unzoned area, so the 20,000 square foot minimum lot size is coming because there's not both public water and public sewer available. So, and the reason the 20,000 square foot rule is there is it is a health department rule because that is the minimum size needed to house a septic tank if you have potable water. So if you don't have either, it's like 40,000 square feet, it's double that. So, but in this case, since they have water but no sewer, it's a minimum of 20,000 square feet. So we can't, through our regulations, if we would approve this, even through a variance, we would be violating other regulations, which is kind of prohibited in our regulations. So it's not as we discussed in the work session, it's not as straightforward as just something to do with the subdivision regulations. There's health department rules and regulations involved in this too that we can't, that's why we're recommending denial, that we can't knowingly create lots that don't meet the health department rule regulations for the septic systems that are there.
So public sewer is not available to this area?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Okay, thank you.
What can we do? How can you help us divide this?
So is there a possibility that these two homes were developed on the same lot prior to those subdivision regulations?
No, since it's one lot now, it meets that requirement. It's larger, it's an acre, right? And the rules allow you to have a primary dwelling and a secondary dwelling. So having two structures on a single lot, it's larger than 20,000 square feet. So as it currently sits, it's completely in compliance, no issues. But by dividing it and creating two lots that are less than 20,000 square feet, it creates two non-compliance lots that, again, it's not complying with health department rules at this point. That's not even a subdivision regulation. It's not complying with subdivision regulations, but also not with health department regulations.
So if it was approved, we'd be violating a health department. But what does that do? Do they get fined? Do they get?
I'm not sure. Yeah.
A red flag come up? What happens?
I just know that our regulations and the state law is very clear that we can't do things that violate other state or federal laws. So if that's why we were recommending now, like we have a very clear statute that says we can't knowingly approve things that are violating a state law.
But if public sewer was available, he could split it and make it a flag lot, and that would meet the regs.
If public sewer is available, it's a totally different story, yeah.
You just have to go an easement because it's a family exemption.
Have you spoke to the local utility provider, sir, to see if sewer is available to the
I'm
property?
sorry, I'm hard of hearing. I didn't wear my hearing aid.
Have you spoke to the local utility provider to see if sewer is available?
I have not.
You may want to. It'd be beneficial if you did.
If public sewer is available on Green Isle Road in front of the site, then there's not a variance or anything needed in any way. It is completely compliant. Yeah.
Do you know where public sewer is, how close to it?
I don't. You would need to talk to Fairhope Utilities. They would be able to tell you.
All right. So if I'm understanding you, if we get public sewer, it's okay.
That's right.
If we don't, it's not.
That's right.
Right, and if you get public sewer, then it's a true family exemption, and if they show that they will serve you there, then your lot size goes down, and then you just work through the department, right, Jay? To get approval, you don't have to come back to this meeting.
So I think, Mr. Smith, that's the only way we can help you. What I'm hearing them say is we really can't approve lots that don't meet our regulations, but the alternative for you is either wait until that utility gets there, or you're just going to deed it to your two boys, and they're going to have to wait till it gets there, then they can split it then.
I don't know how long I have to wait.
Well, sewer's being put in all over this county, and I think if you check with Fairhope, that may be your answer. They may have plans to be running sewer out there, and it may
If they have it, then that solves the problem.
That
If they
solves your
don't have it,
problem.
we got a problem.
If you get that sewer there, then you just go back to the staff, and they'll help you finish out what you're trying to do here, and you wouldn't have to come to us. So that's probably the best we're going to be able to do, because I don't think we're going to be able to approve your variance request. I'm speaking for the group. They're getting ready to make a motion, but what I'm hearing, we're not going to be able to do it. I know it seems close. It seems like it's right there, but without you either acquiring some more land from a neighbor or you just waiting till utility gets there.
Question. I also own the lot next to it that's vacant. Can we put a little bit of that land into this to make them 20,000 square feet?
Yeah, if you want to if you have the ability to reconfigure the external lines of the parcel to create two lots.
Do you see the lot at the front here that comes a little bit past it? I own that lot also.
That would probably be if they don't have sewer, that would be your best bet is to dedicate some of that
Can we table
parcel.
this until we?
Can he do a common lot line move? Or do you still have that exemption?
Yeah, we can do, that could all be an administrative thing. So if you own that property to the south, you would just need to include that in your family and make sure that all of them are 20,000 square feet or greater.
Well, the other one is a little over 20,000 square feet.
Right, so, yeah.
And I just had to demolish the house that was on it, so it is now vacant.
Yeah, you would just need to include that parcel in your family exemption, just to make sure you create all three parcels of 20,000 square feet or larger. Or have sewer, yeah.
Mr. Smith, too, if it gives you any confidence, and Jay, you might be able to answer this. There's that 460, almost 500 house subdivision that got approved a few miles south of him. Is that city, or what were they planning on doing?
That is city, so they're
gonna
probably
run
running it down
It's
there.
coming.
Yeah, for that.
So it sounds like we have two choices. Find public sewer if it's available, or else see how large the lot south is. It's not as large as the one north, but maybe it has enough that I could put some land in with it because they're close.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, thank you for your consideration.
All right, well, we're going to have to take action on the motion, on the request. So I'll entertain a motion for the variance request.
I'll make a motion we deny his variance request.
Okay. Mr. Davis made a motion to deny. Have a second.
Seconded.
Mr. Seibert seconded the motion. Any question? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? At least I think you got some options. All right. That's the last of our agenda items. All right. Kind of an internal item we need to take care of. We need to take care of election of our 2025 officers. So no need to tarry on this. If you've got, we'll start with the chairman. Do I chair the election? I guess I do, huh?
I think you have to, yeah.
I didn't know if y'all handled it. All right, I'll entertain a nomination for chair, or more nominations? So be it.
I'd like to nominate Steve Pumphrey to continue as chair.
I'll second that.
All right, so Mr. Sykes made a nomination. Is there another nomination? Please? No?
Are we going to discuss the nomination?
All right, no other nominations?
I just
His
wanna be in-
nominations are closed.
I want to be in public support of Steve in this role. He's done an excellent job. I think he does a great job administering this commission, so he has my full support.
All right, you asked for it. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Oh, you could oppose it. It hurt my feelings. All right, and then we have the vice chair. Mr. Bias has been the vice chair.
I'd like to nominate Mr. Brandon Bias.
All right, so we have a nomination that Mr. Bias has remained as chair. Do we have another nomination? Well,
I'll second. Michael's
nominations are
nomination.
closed. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right. We didn't make any changes there, did we? All right. Any public, I don't have any public comments signed up. Staff reports.
Mr. Chairman, I don't think we have anything other than what we discussed in the work session. Like I said, it was good to get the subdivision regulations behind us. I appreciate all of your input on that. It's been a good document I think everybody's happy with. So
You'll be getting copies of new regulations to us?
yeah, we sure will. Thank y'all.
Mr.
Anybody
Chairman.
have any questions on that, by the way?
I've got a question. Last meeting, you expressed a possible desire to vote. Can we make that happen if you want to participate in that?
You don't have to do anything. I think from the standpoint, the bylaws say that I have that option. It's just not been an option I think that the chair has in the past chosen to do. I don't know what past chairmen, it just seems like when I came on, I was basically told that I didn't vote unless there was a tie. But I read the bylaws state that I have the option, I just can't create a tie with my vote.
I haven't read it lately, but I think that's probably what it says. I think that's pretty typical parliamentarian.
If that is the case, Aaron, and if I choose, even now, I just say it this way, if I want to vote, do I need to do anything to change anything if the bylaws state it that way? Do I need to preface my next meeting by saying that I am from now on going to start voting, or?
Let me look into it, and I'll get back to you before the next meeting so that you
Okay.
know how to handle it,
Thank
whichever
you.
way you want to go.
I'll be honest, I would like to vote. And I understand I can't, if it comes up and such that I create a tie, I can't vote then, but personally, I would like to vote.
Okay. We'll look into it and get back with you.
Thank you, Mr. Fletcher, for bringing that up. And back to the subdivision regs, did anybody have any questions about, everybody knows that the regs were approved by the county commission, the revisions. So anybody have any questions on that? If not, we'll be getting updated regulations.
Is there a red line version, like an updated red line version of it? It is.
Yeah, so do we have the red line version that was presented? The red line version that was presented at the county commission, and we're going to keep that kind of published for a few months just to make it an easier transition for everybody that's reading through and seeing what's different. But yeah, that's what we'll provide you.
All right? No other staff comments? Legal? Aaron? Nothing?
Nothing to report.
You sit here all night, you ought to just make up something, I don't know.
We don't want anything to report.
I get it. All right. Our next meeting will be February the 6th. Did you get that? I don't want you to show up early.
Record it on my
Okay.
calendar.
There's an inside joke on that. All right. If nothing else, we are adjourned.